Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of The Pickleball Crew. We are a group of pickleball fanatics based in southeast Louisiana and are passionate about all things pickleball everywhere. Our focus is to inform, acknowledge those who help build the game regionally, and promote tournaments in our area. We do our best to present this with a love of the sport, a sense of humor, and a lot of fun. So join Vicki Wynn, Ken Wynn, Jeff Fuchsia, and me, Bud Klein, in our latest episode. We are glad you are along for the ride. Ken starts us off with his review and updates on local tournaments. Then the crew will welcome a special guest, Andrea Scafidi Robertson, USA Pickleball Ambassador for Mississippi. Andrea will bring us up to speed on current USA Pickleball news and especially the latest on the adoption of a standard player rating system. Then the crew will jump into a discussion of communicating in doubles. Jeff shares another one of his Burrs Under My Saddle, and Vicki will share with us a couple of her shoutouts. This should be an interesting episode, so stay with us to the end. Hey, welcome to the Pickleball Crew. I can't believe it, guys, but this is our 16th episode. Wow, it seems like just the other day we were getting on a Zoom call and calling that a podcast. But anyway, welcome, and to start off, as usual, Ken will do his review of area tournaments and updates.
Hey, thanks, Bud. September 16th, 17th, this is the first annual Slidell Pickleball Association tournament. It's going to be held at Crossgates. You want to email Terry at crossgatesclub.com. We may have that email address at the bottom of the screen. For more information, it is 2 out of 3 games to 11, win by 2. The next weekend, September 23rd, 24th, is the Pelican Park Classic. As of now, I'm hearing that all divisions are full, but they are accepting people on a wait list, and they're just going to kind of see how the numbers pan out, who needs a partner, and they may actually let new complete teams in into certain brackets or expand other brackets. So it just depends on how the divisions fare out. But if you're interested, go to pelicanparkrecreationdesk.com and register and get on the wait list if you're interested. And that is September 23rd and 24th. It's in Mandeville, and it's at the beautiful 8 courts at Pelican Park. The last weekend in September 30th, October 1st, is the Ronnie Walters Magnolia Classic for the love of the Y. This is at the Lamar Tennis Center in Baton Rouge. It's a MMP and sanctioned event. It's $80 per person, and that gets you 2 events. That's September 30th and October 1st weekend. The next weekend, October 6th through 8th, is the Fall Fling in St. Francisville. I got an email from David. It's $80 per person. I'm just going to read a couple of things that he wanted me to pass along. That all flights are round robin, and the top 2 from each flight will advance to a knockout playoff quarter or semifinals. There's going to be pizza, music, and beer on Friday night with a live band and open play for practice if you want. Saturday, there's a lunch. Light breakfast, snacks, snowballs, and water will be provided. Sunday, lunch, light breakfast, snacks, and water will be provided. For the 3rd year, the West Feliciana Pickleball Club will donate all profits from this event to 2 local charities. So they do a great job here. It's a great group of people, a great organization, and they're at about 70-75% full. So if you go to my Facebook page, there is a application, and you have to print it out, mail it in, but there's still a chance for you to get in. It's $80 per person. That does get you 3 events: singles on Friday, regular doubles on Saturday, mixed doubles on Sunday. The next weekend, October 14th, 15th, is the 2023 Vicksburg Fall Brawl, Vicksburg, Mississippi. It's at Halls Ferry Park. It also is full. If you're interested, though, you could try to get on a wait list for that one. 2 weeks later, October 27th through 29th in Baton Rouge, it's the annual Hollow Wheel tournament. Cindy and Tex Morris always do a great job. It's a great fundraiser. It is full, but hey, come hang out with us. We'll all be there, just partying all weekend long at the tennis center. The first weekend in November is the Louisiana State Games. That's November 3rd through 5th in Monroe. If you medal in the state games, and this is not the senior games, this is the state games, so you can be, I think, 16 or 18 on up, all the way as old as you can be. If you do medal, that you do qualify for the 2024 State Games of America, which is the equivalent of nationals, which will be in San Diego, California in 2024. The same weekend is the 9th annual tennis and pickleball fundraiser for Raphael Village. This will be held at City Park Tennis Center in New Orleans. There's a patron party the day before on Thursday night, November 2nd at the Exchange. Go to www.raphaelvillage.org. You can become a sponsor. You can register. It's all the information you need is right on that website. The following weekend, November 11th and 12th, at the W.O. Lott Park in Daphne, Alabama, is the Tom Burkhart Magnolia Classic. Its registration is open now. There's over 50 people already registered. It's $50 per person, and that gets you 2 events. Go to pickleballbrackets.com for more information. It is also an MMP event, which is a medal match plus, which means the finals and some of the semifinals will have refereed matches. So that's always I always find that takes a little bit of load off me trying to remember the score and what position I'm supposed to be in when you're playing a ref match. So I think it's a big bonus. I hope more tournaments are able to do that going forward. In December, the first weekend is the Boys Ranch second annual Christmas Classic. This year it's going to be held in Slidell at Fritchie Park Gym. Friday will be a social and open play. Will be from 5 to 8:30. There'll also be food available and drinks available. Saturday is gender doubles. Sunday is mixed doubles. That's the first weekend in November in Fritchie Park Gym in Slidell. The next weekend, December 9th, 10th, is the second annual Americana YMCA Pickleball Invitational in Zachary. This is Chase Rigdon's tournament, along with Magnolia Classic, who will be helping to run it. They always do a great job. It's going to be a USAP sanctioned event. Registration is open, so you can start signing up for that. In 2024, I'll just mention one tournament here, April 12th through 14th, save the date, Hattiesburg. This is Marlena Mims tournament. It's the Youth Life Organization and Wesley Foundation. So we're looking forward to that. Marlena putting it on. As soon as we get an application, we'll put it out. I know that one will fill up fast. So that's it with tournament update, Bud. Back to you.
All right, Ken, that was a great review. Thank you. And I understand we've got a special guest in the room, and I'm going to bring her on right now.
Welcome, welcome. We are excited to have you, everybody. This is Andrea Scafidi Robertson from Gulfport, Mississippi. Talk about somebody who has so many hands in pickleball, so many hats that she wears. We're excited to have you. Now, one of your roles is as an ambassador, and we're gonna talk about all your roles. But as an ambassador, you recently went to was it a national ambassadors retreat or convention? Is that correct?
So what USA Pickleball has done is divided the country into sectors now instead of just the regions. So being Louisianians, you know that you guys are actually members of the Mid-South region. And in Mississippi, we're actually members of the Atlantic South region. And there's also a Southwest region. And Eddie McDonald of the Gastric Cancer Foley Tournament fame is actually the South Sector Director for USA Pickleball. So a lot of your viewers may be familiar with him or have played in this tournament. And so he took that position when USAP decided to divide the country into sectors. And I believe they changed that maybe about a year and a half, 2 years ago. They went under a restructuring. And so there's a chain of command, or if you want to say it, levels. So a regular ambassador serves the state. And then I'm the state ambassador for the state of Mississippi. So I have several ambassadors all over the state that are in different areas, developing play in those areas. And some areas, depending on the population, can have more ambassadors than other areas. It was kind of population based. And now they've just changed it to areas of focus based instead. So this way, there's you can have an unlimited amount of ambassadors in an area, so long as everybody's focused on a different topic. For example, if Vicki Collier, for example, is one of my ambassadors in Biloxi, and her focus is to develop play and create league play and free instruction and free clinics for players that are just coming into the sport or players that want to develop their skills a little bit further. She created a program called Mentor Monday, where she invited advanced players to come and teach a specific topic to, I would say, advanced beginner players and low intermediate players to advance their skills. And she set that up. So things like that, where anybody could come that wanted to come and work on a particular skill. So she set those kind of things up. So I have ambassadors up in the Jackson area that are really trying to focus on recreational play and getting it developed at various parks and dealing with parks and recreation departments, and then others that want to get it into the school systems. And so there's different areas of focus now that ambassadors are trying to work on, whether it's facility development, making sure that veterans at a Veterans Administration hospital or rehabilitation facilities can get the sport introduced to them. So there's all kinds of different areas of focus, and it's really wonderful because, then the youth get involved, then we have the schools involved, and they're trying to really develop the program across all spans of anybody that may be interested in playing, whether it's special needs or just introducing it to a rural area that's never even heard of the sport. That's kind of the new development with the ambassadors and the ambassador structure. So like I said, I'm the Mississippi District Ambassador, and I report to Bill Hess, who is the director of the Atlantic South region. Your regional director is Greg Goose. And then there's a gentleman that's over in the Southwest, nicknamed Bud Light, I think is his name, actually. And so I haven't had the pleasure of meeting him. So Eddie's in charge of all of those. And so what was really great was it was the South Sector retreat. They just started doing these. It's a much easier way and more cost effective for all of the ambassadors to travel to more centrally located area. And then they can get together and learn some things and put their heads together and create some ideas and stuff like that. So it was really, really informative. And then, of course, national office representatives were there as well. Lance Cowart was there, who is the field director of field operations for USA Pickleball. And he is like the guy that I approached first and wanted to know about the rating system and what the status was with that. Because that's like I said, the burr under my saddle is the UTPR situation right now. As members of USA Pickleball, that is their primary concern right now. They want to know, competitive players want to know what's going on with that. So I immediately approached him as soon as I saw who he was, just so everybody knows I'm on your side. I'm going to bat for y'all at Nationals. And asked him what the status was with that. And he said, I knew somebody was going to come up and ask me. And I said, we hadn't even started the presentations or anything yet. Gotten our coffee, sat down, anything. I went straight over to him. So, but anyway, I spoke with him about that, and I got some pretty useful information about that, I think. Definitely an update.
Tell everybody, though, where the confusion maybe comes in, because our viewers might not really completely understand. But this is when you're reporting back from a tournament or something like that, this is how people gain their ratings as a 3.0, 3.5 player, but there are multiple systems that are out there. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Now, you can only get an official rating if you play in a sanctioned tournament. There are other rating systems out there. There's Duper, like I said, WPR, the Georgia Pickleball Association actually has their own rating system. And then there's the World Pickleball Rating and Pickleball Brackets, which is a tournament software, which also has its rating. Those are ratings that you can self-rate at. Once you sign up for a sanctioned tournament, then the USA Pickleball will pull that self-rating and any ratings history that you have from any tournament that you've played in, and then put that as your official rating to start with in a sanctioned tournament. Now, the problem is now that, I don't want to call it a problem, it's just a development really, is that we have so many different rating systems that people aren't sure where to go, what's what. It is very confusing. So what happened was that USA Pickleball came up with, they actually, my understanding is that they created a board or a committee comprised of Mark Pfeiffer, who was the head of officiating at the time. Also, several statisticians. I believe there were members from the International Federation of Pickleball as well, and some of the longstanding certified referees. So anyway, they came up with a system, an algorithm, an equation for an official rating system. And then what happened was that kind of got put on hold because there were so many more developments in the world of pickleball. What happened was that Connor Pardo sold his organization to I can't think of the Durden's name, or I can't think of his name right now. I'm sorry. The guy that just bought the PPA and Pickleball Central, and Melissa McCurley sold pickleball tournaments and all of that. So that guy bought a big, huge conglomerate, made a big pickleball conglomerate. And then the MLP developed as well. So the MLP was created. And so then we have our local tournaments or even regional tournaments or just large charity tournaments using different softwares. Pickleball Tournaments was merged with Pickleball Brackets software, which they're still finalizing that merging right now. The softwares are integrating, and it's a bigger project than what they initially thought. But Pickleball Tournaments has a really great database. Pickleball Brackets has an ease of software use. So when those were purchased, they merged those. And of course, everybody's like, what about ratings? What about ratings? So when I spoke to Lance Cowart that morning, when I jumped on him essentially about it, because I've been waiting for an answer for this question for a very long, it feels like forever, because I host sanctioned tournaments. I want to know where the incentive is to host a sanctioned tournament. And that's exactly what I asked him in regard to that, and what the status was on the rating system. And his word to me was yes. And I was like, wait, what? And he said, really and truly, there's so many moving parts right now because of the big purchase of pickleball tournaments, the merging of pickleball brackets, the development of the MLP, the PPA, and the APP kind of working together now, that there's major corporations that are involved and contracts are being signed right now. And so USAP's standpoint, what I gathered from his response was kind of like they're working with everyone right now to make sure that everything is cohesive between all of the organizations. And then at that point, after all the contracts have been signed between PPA sponsors and APP and everything else, that then at that point, then they're going to put forward a unified, official, sanctioned rating system that will be the universal rating system for all sanctioning. And so that would be like your, any kind of nationally refereed sanctioned events like the Atlanta Open or, any of the Diamond Championship Series finals down in Pictona or wherever that final will be this year, et cetera. So they're trying to really get everybody at least on the same page, working together, because they know that, ultimately it's easier if everyone's understands where everybody's coming from and working together in order to get that down. And so then because my thought was we need to be the trailblazers. We create the referees, we create the rule book, we should be leading this. But ultimately they realize that, but they also realize that you have to work together and you can't just go in there and say, okay, well, we're the boss, when you have all of these moving parts that need to work together. So I said, okay, I understand. And he said it takes a little while to get contracts signed. I just kind of went, okay, we're still waiting. But I know that they say he did say that is at the top of their list to get an answer to have that get situated as soon as they possibly can. They know it's very important. So
absolutely, I think it
So
would
can,
just alleviate so much confusion.
right.
yeah, oh yeah.
So as someone who runs sanctioned tournaments, at the end of the tournament, I guess as a part of being sanctioned, you upload the results to USA Pickleball. Is that correct?
As a tournament director, you're given a tournament director's package when you sanction, and that comes from Karen Parrish. But she handles sending out the director packets to the tournament directors that do host the sanctioned tournaments. And there's certain things that we have to fulfill prior to the tournament, and then certain things that we have to fulfill post tournament. And one of those is obviously the results getting uploaded to Pickleball Bracket software because they're merged with Pickleball Tournaments.
Okay.
Now that automatically they have the ability to look at all of that, and those go directly to USAP, where they're factored into the UTPR, which is your official
Got it.
pickleball rating.
Got it.
So
So
that's
does
how that works.
So does Duper have access to that data? Can they glean out that information, or do you have to
I
actually
don't.
submit to Duper, or you just don't know?
I'm not sure. Duper and pickleball brackets are not like playing in the sandbox nicely, so to speak, right now.
Okay.
Not that I'm saying they're adversaries, but ultimately, what my understanding is that they have to be manually submitted to Duper. Duper is not currently at this stage of the game. Now, I don't know. I believe in the future they are going to actually be able to access pickleball brackets results, but I don't believe that that's happening right now because the software between pickleball tournaments and pickleball brackets is not completed. That merge is not completed yet. What my understanding is, Jarek Rager, who is one of the ambassadors in North Alabama area, he hosts the Alabama Open up in the Hoover area, right? You guys have played in that tournament.
I play,
So
yeah.
Jarek,
Mhm.
yeah, Jarek was on top of. We did a district ambassadors meeting, a Zoom meeting, and Jarek actually did tell us that the software merger was going to be taking a little bit longer than they had anticipated. So, but I do know that Duper, as a result, Duper will eventually be able to get that access to that
Okay.
software, but that merger is not finished. Like the integration is not finished yet. So I believe that's where part of the hang up is. But anyway, getting back to the actual sector retreat, that's the update on softwares and all that. The ambassador retreat was held, like I said, it was held at the Foley Event Center in Foley at OWA, and Eddie McDonald did a fabulous job of hosting that. It was really, really amazing. We got to meet during the presentation, the earlier part of the presentation. The new CEO of USA Pickleball came on in a Zoom presentation and introduced himself and thanked all of the ambassadors for everyone that could be there, that was there, for all the work they had done. Like I said, Lance Cowart was there, the director of field operations, and then Hope Tolley was there, the grants expert, and recreational play developer was there as well. So that's another hat that she wears. And they did presentations on a lot of different things. So one of the things that they did was facility construction, and Carl Schmitz was there for that. We were given a really great presentation on that. USA Pickleball has really great resources for ambassadors, and they make all of it available. And one of the things that they do have is a facilities development guide. So if Pelican Park had never built courts outside and needed guidance on that, then your local ambassador could tap into the resources that USA Pickleball provides. There's a court construction manual that they use, along with it's the Sports Facilities Association at ISFA, and so they have gotten together with that organization and put together the best practices and guides for outdoor construction, with their recommendations and all of the resources that anyone could possibly need. Also, they're so available by phone. It's amazing to me how much access there actually is to these people that you would think you don't have access to, but you really do. They also did a presentation on sound mitigation, which is becoming an issue as well around the world, where pickleball courts are being built or have been built in residential areas. And so we actually have some, Bob Unitich and his partner have a sound mitigation company. They're sound engineers, and they're doing a lot of research on that, and they are trying to work, that everyone that has a complaint is referred to them, and they're finding solutions to the sound mitigation, which was interesting. So we learned all about decibels and all of the things, the tones and everything else. It was really, really fascinating. And so Bob Unitic, who is a certified referee as well, also is very involved in that, and taking all the calls in and listening to the complaints and actually working with those people, not just saying, okay, we'll get back to you. It's not that kind of thing at all. They're working hand in hand with people to try and solve some problems. Also, Jim Young, who y'all had interviewed already up at Opelika. Yes, he is. He is so wonderful. And Bill Hess, our director, did a presentation on tournament considerations and preparations, and that was really good. Bill Malloy, my business partner from Magnolia Classic, and I were sitting there, and we kind of just nodded in agreement, because we've learned by baptism by fire of the things that you need to have in line in order to host a tournament. And so that was really informative to a lot of the other ambassadors in the area that were present. And also they did a really great presentation. This was Hope Tolley's area of specialty. And Shane Shelnut also was involved. He did a small presentation as well about student involvement, school, whether it's school having their own courts or developing courts at the school, or public courts, and financial support, gaining financial support for that. And there's lots and lots of resources for that available too for ambassadors. There's a whole grants program, which some of you may be familiar with or not, but your ambassador certainly should be. I believe y'all's district ambassador is Tex Morris. I think he took over for Johnny Venezia, actually, okay, as far as your district ambassador over there. And anyway, so they have community development grants, they have youth grants, they have collegiate grants, they also have a paddle program. So if a facility is just trying to get into a church because the church has offered their gym, for example, and they need nets and they need balls and they need paddles, that's where the community grant opportunity would come in. And a USAP member has to be the one to apply for the grant. And the grant, I believe, is $250, which is nice because that pays for a net and some balls or a net. And you can apply also for the paddle program, which is members of the organization donate their used paddles back to USA Pickleball, and those paddles are packaged in eight paddles, and it costs $25 for the shipping to anywhere of those paddles. And so the paddles are free, there's no charge, but it's enough paddles to get 2 courts started on playing if some people walk in and don't have any equipment at all. So that's really nice. And that goes with the grant programs. And then there's a youth grant, I believe, that are actually higher in amounts. I don't know the exact amounts because I don't have my notes with me, the ones that I wrote while I was there.
Andrea,
however,
you mentioned college at collegiate level. A lot of the colleges are trying to institute, a pickleball sport program. Is USA Pickleball involved in that, trying to get these colleges up and going as well?
Well, it won't be an official like college sport until it becomes an Olympic sport, and it won't be integrated probably as a school PE program until it becomes an Olympic sport. And I believe we're like 3 or 4 countries away from that happening, if my numbers are correct. I think it has to be 70, and I think we're like at 67 or something like that. Like, we're just a few countries off. I mean, we're very, very close to becoming an Olympic sport. Once it becomes an Olympic sport, then, or is nominated to become an Olympic sport, then it becomes like officially official as a sport. And then the colleges, like, there may be an SEC league, pickleball league, eventually, or something like that. I mean, how cool would that be? Right now, like up at Ole Miss, they have, for example, they have a pickleball club. And most of the school situations right now, youth getting into the school systems, it would have to be like an after-school intramurals club kind of thing, where, for example, let's say, Vicki, let's say you were working at one of the schools in Mandeville, and you were a teacher there. You could actually create an intramurals club and then apply for the youth grant as an educator. And then you would receive a certain amount of money to buy the equipment to start an intramural club. And then you could spread the word to the next school and the next school and the next school that's interested to have kids that play. So we have a kid that's playing right now. It's 15. That's at St. Patrick here on the Gulf Coast, and I'm really interested in getting into St. Patrick's and getting an intramural club started because I know that there's kids at Biloxi High that are playing. So all you have to do is create the after-school club, essentially the intramural club, and find some financial support for it. Ask for a sponsor or whatever. And I mean, that's one of the things that they were saying at the retreat was that Shane Shelnut works in the public school system up in the Hoover area or Clay, Alabama area. He's in the Clay public school system. So that's how he got their program started. And it's very strong now. They have a championship and everything. I mean, it's like they're there. The courts are packed every night with the kids when he has practices and all of that. And so, and he said, I just went to sponsors and they love sponsoring kids. I mean, people will throw money at kids programs. But anyway, so they also did the program on the, and this is just one of the resources, actually. It's a recreational programs guide, and it has like tons and tons of games for educators or instructors or PE teachers to, do a unit on if they want, or to utilize to get kids interested in the sport in the club, for example, after school.
Andrea, it sounds like as a player, I have the opportunity through an ambassador to improve my game, to learn how to play. As a coach or somebody starting pickleball, like a juniors program, I may have a chance to get paddles. As a tournament director, I can get advice on how to put on a good tournament. How does somebody who's watching this, do they go to USA Pickleball site, or how do I find out who my ambassador is and all these things that may be available to me? What's the best way that you would recommend that somebody kind of educate themselves or go to look to find out who their ambassador is and learn more about this?
Go to usapickleball.org, our website, and there's a lot of headings across, tournaments and get involved and who we are and what we do and all of that. And then underneath the Get Involved tab is an ambassadors. Ambassadors are listed there. And then you can look up an ambassador on that website via your territory or whatever. Actually, I'm trying to get, spoke with her yesterday, as a matter of fact, Terry Lamperez, to try and go ahead and put in an ambassador application for the North Shore, so you guys have somebody there that has access to all of these things. So we have 3 sanctioned tournaments coming up. One is for the Love of the Y in Baton Rouge. That is on September 30th, October 1st at the Paula Manship YMCA. Registration is open on pickleballbrackets.com in Baton Rouge. Also, we have right after that the Tom Burkhart, who you all know. Tom is like one of the forefathers of pickleball in your region for sure. And so we're doing a tournament to honor him. That'll be in Daphne the weekend of Veterans Day, November 10th and 11th over at the Lot Park facility. And then we're doing the second annual Americana YMCA Pickleball Invitational presented by Chase Rigdon, and that's going to be at the Americana Y in Zachary. And that will be the second weekend of December 9th. I think it's the 9th and 10th. And those 3 are all sanctioned tournaments. So if any of your viewers are interested in getting an official rating and playing in their first sanctioned tournament, all of those are open registration on Pickleball Brackets right now. So you can get on there and register.
So as a player, a coach, a tournament director, I should go to USA Pickleball and look up and find out who my ambassador is, and also look what's available on the website itself and see what they can do to help me as a player, as a coach, as a tournament director, or any other aspect of the game. So that's great. That's great information. That's great information.
Yeah. Yes.
Great
a lot
resources
of community
available.
Resources too. So very nice.
Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't cost anything to go to the website and just check it out. Really, you can. The one thing that's so cool about it is that as an educator, let's say Vicki's teaching at a school, like I said, and Vicki wants to start an intramurals club, and let's just say it's Mandeville Central High or whatever. So she goes on as the educator and registers the club, and the club's membership is only $35 for the year to have access to all of that. And it's really wonderful. Also, there's club memberships with let's say Pelican Park Club created a players club where y'all did leagues and everything else. Then the club membership is $35 a year, but it provides liability insurance for the club in case an accident happens. And so there's all kinds of things. And then also, they're partnered with the PPR, which Ken and Vicki, I know you're familiar with because y'all went through and got certified as I did to coach. And so that's another whole aspect of resources that's available, as well as through that partnership of coaching. And if you want to become a coach, perhaps you were a tennis coach and now you want to coach pickleball, all of that. So there's further education there. There's further resources through that program as well. And they're partnered with USA Pickleball. So, I mean, really and truly, their whole drive is to just, let's do this sport right. Let's just do it right. Let's make sure that we have our ducks in a row as far as teaching and certifications and coaching, that we're all uniform in that we're uniform in our court construction, that we're uniform in our materials, that we're uniform in all of our supplies and nets and balls, and that there's a testing. I mean, they do all of the testing for the paddles. They handle all of the testing for the balls and all the materials involved. That's what USAP does also. So the thing is, everything's USAP approved, then at least there's some standards in place that have to be met as far as equipment and rules and courts construction and things like that. So, I mean, there's a lot that they do, and I'm glad that they exist and that they can provide us with referees and with the rules and standards for equipment. So
that's great. Well, we sure appreciate you coming on and sharing all of this wonderful information and sharing it with all of our viewers, because we think it's really important to the overall growth of pickleball for everybody to understand. So
thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me.
And kudos for you. You're, involved as a referee, as an ambassador, as a tournament director, as a player. I mean, you've got so many hats, and you really contribute so much to pickleball in the Gulf Coast and Southeast Louisiana, that we're blessed to have you guys, you a part of the team here, helping us all out.
Thank you, Andrea. Really appreciate your participation. It was great having you. We're going to jump into our usual discussion that we have. Would you like to stay, Andrea? We're going to talk a little bit about doubles communication.
Sure, absolutely. Love to.
All right. Jeff, why don't you start us off?
All right. Thanks, Andrea. I've been having dogs coming running out, in and out. One of them hit the cord while I cut my phone off. But we're glad to have you. That's a lot of information. Hopefully it's beneficial to some people. So thanks for coming on. So we're going to try to talk a little bit. Pickleball topic today is partner communication. In a lot of lower levels, there's not a whole lot of partner communication. So hopefully some of those folks will watch this and realize how important partner communication is. There's not only is it keeping each other informed of what's going on the court, but it's also trying to remain cohesive. Not only when things are going good, you want that role to keep going. When things are going bad, that's when partners can come together and try to weather the storm by just, talking to each other, letting each other know what's going on. Hey, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with this shot, that shot, or whatever. But so we're going to discuss several different aspects of partner communication. So I'll just open it up like that. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to add to that or get us kicked off, I guess?
Well, I'll just go ahead and say that there's times when you brought it up and that you're maybe struggling with a shot or a side of the court or something like that, and you can communicate with each other and then move to stacking. And sometimes it's just, you're down and score and you want to try something a little bit different. Let's stack. You and I, Jeff, have done that a couple of times, and you end up going right back to moving on the court and doing better, so things like that I think are really important, that you feel like you have options to try when you're struggling.
Yeah, as important as it is to have communication after points or before a point starts or before a rally starts, there's also the communication in a point, somebody calling mine, yours, whether both people are doing it or you've got that one person who is, pointing things out as far as, you, me, things like that. That's always important. I know with Vicki and I, that's one thing I'm sorry, Bud, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's if I have one of my biggest weaknesses is my lack of communication with my partner. I'm pretty good at calling an out ball out, but I'm really bad at saying, I'll take it. It's yours. It's mine. those kind of things. I did want to say one thing, though. You talk about the importance of communication. This morning, my first game, I played with Ken, and I really got off to a rough start. And Ken never let me get down. He kept encouraging me, kept telling me it's just a warm-up game, and I finally did snap out of it. So those are things that a partner can really do, especially in rec play. One of the biggest problems in rec play is you just don't end up with one person to understand their strengths and their weaknesses. But the least you can do is be encouraging and, try to keep your partner up and, comment on good shots, and on a bad shot, don't emphasize it.
Well, it's easy to get caught up in wins and losses in rec play. And look, we're all out there to play with each other, not just today, but tomorrow and the next day. And so hopefully, we just got to try to keep encouraging each other. And hey, we're all going to have our bad days or our bad games. So we just kind of move on from it and do our best.
Vicki, you were talking about stacking a while ago. When you're stacking, serving and also returning, there has to be communication between each partner after every single point, because you're trying to stack, especially if you're on an odd number. That means you're not in your traditional position, so you've got to figure that out. I like that. One of the things I like about that is it's something that brings the two partners back together. No matter if a bad point happened or if somebody messed a shot up or whatever, you got to come together and get to the business of getting on in the game, which helps you to get on down the road. You can't drag those bad shots behind you. So when you're stacking,
Good point, Jeff.
it's really important to talk to each other. Another point that I would like to make is when a ball is lobbed up, anytime the ball is lobbed over to my partner's side, one of my jobs is to let them know if it is out or in. And for those of you that play with me, y'all hear me say, hit it. Okay? I'm not jumping up in the bleachers like a cheerleader wanting you to wind up and hit it really hard. All I'm doing by saying that, I'm letting you know that ball is in. Get back to it and hit it. We want to try not to let lobs bounce if we can. It's one of my, I don't want to call it a burr in my saddle, maybe it is. It's a pet peeve of mine when I'm playing with people and the ball's lobbed over my head. I'm going back to smash it, and a lot of times I'm thinking, this is back near the back line, and they say absolutely nothing. And I don't know what to do sometimes. A lot of times I just go ahead and hit it, but sometimes it's out. So that's a crucial part of communication. You can say hit it, you can say bounce it if you're not sure, or you can say it's out to let that person know that's running, scrambling back for it, to let them know, hey, don't kill yourself, let the ball bounce, it's going out. So that's a crucial point where communication needs to occur.
Absolutely.
There's also, go ahead, Andrea, I'm sorry.
Lefty and stacker, especially with a blind date in a tournament, even if they're an experienced player and they know how to, and they're familiar with stacking and they agree to stack. It's vital. It's absolutely vital that you communicate throughout the whole process, because A, it's a new partner. B, they're probably haven't practiced with a left-handed player recently, and then all of a sudden they're thrust into a situation with a left-handed player, and it's vital. I mean, it is so important that they communicate and that you communicate what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with. Perhaps it's a half stack where you're just stacking on the serve but not on the receive, just to make them more comfortable, or because the more relaxed that our partners are, and the more they know that they can depend on us, then they relax and they become more dependable as well. And it's vitally important, whether you're stacking or not. But yeah, definitely. But in a blind date situation and in a competition, for sure.
Yeah. And I have an experience from that at the MLP in Laurel. It was kind of a blind date in a way, because you're being partnered with somebody who I'd never met before. And I asked them, I said, hey, are you a left side player or right side player? Meaning we were both right-handed. I said, do you like your big forehand in the center? He says, yes, I do. Well, well, I know, so do I. I said, well, let's put your forehand in the center and let's see how it goes. And when we switch sides at 8, he says, hey, why don't we move and put your forehand in the center now and see how we do? Because we were trailing, and it wasn't necessarily because of, we were just trying to change it up a little bit. And we ended up winning that game, putting my forehand in the center. So that's kind of like almost pre-match and mid-match kind of communications about rather than just being in between each point. So that's a whole nother area of communication that you can have with a kind of a blind date or with any partner.
Definitely discuss your strengths, your weaknesses, and how to make it work together.
Yeah. So Andrea, yesterday me and you played a couple of games together, and we're both left-handed. All the righties out there, it's normal for them to play with a bunch of another right-hander. It's not as very, probably 5 to 10% of the time do I play with a lefty. But as me and you were scoring and switching, we did a good job of, hey, your forehand's in the middle now. And just kind of communicated on 50-50 balls that were coming in there, letting whatever one of us was on that side take that forehand. And I don't know if it won us any games, but hopefully our communication helped us stay on the same page there a little bit more. So I thought that was good.
We definitely communicated. We definitely communicated more than the other team. So even if we didn't win, we won.
Yeah, I always tell people when I'm teaching them or working with them, and this comes up, I don't think you can talk on the court enough. I always try to emulate my game or our games after what the pros are doing. Not that we're not as good as they are, but there's a few times where the pros you can hear what they're saying on the court, and it's intriguing how much chatter and how much talk is going on between partners on the court at the pro level. So I think we should try to emulate that. If they're doing it, there's a reason why they're doing it, and it just helps. You need cohesiveness on the court with the person you're playing with. If there's a disconnect there, it's just not good. And they are constantly talking to each other. So that's kind of why I've been big on it for 3 to 4 years now. And anybody that plays with me knows I like to talk a lot. When I get somebody that doesn't talk a lot, it just I don't really know what they're thinking, what's going on. And it just really just kind of takes me out of my game if I can't communicate, know what's happening there.
But you're always very encouraging and very positive with your partners.
Yeah.
You always
definitely.
Shake it off. You made a mistake. You're always shake it off, leave it behind, and move on.
Right. And that's another big important thing. I don't care what level player you are. If you're high level, low level, mid level, whatever you are, that's one of the things that you can always take care of and do is try to be a good partner. We play with a lot of different people, and you can probably list 5 or 10 people that are like, man, yeah, they're really easy to play with, and it's usually because they're talking to you saying, hey, we got this, we got this, we got this.
That's right. Yeah, you can get discouraged to the point where it just totally affects your game. And so just knowing most of us are very concerned about our partners before we're concerned about ourselves. You don't ever want to let your partner down. And so that pressure you put on yourself can be relieved a little bit by knowing that your partner is encouraging and, willing to work with you and work together to make changes in the game, to make it get more, have things happen for yourself. You definitely, it's mental. It's very, very mental game. And so it's very important that you don't keep discouraged. And, I see a few people out there that they beat up on themselves so unmercifully that it's like halfway through the game, they're giving up.
I'm like that.
Yeah, you don't give up either, bud. You hung in there, yesterday. Today. So.
Yeah. And
I had a good day after that first game, Ken. I really did have a good day the rest of the day.
Yeah, well, good.
I beat a couple of people I like to beat. It always makes it. Matter of fact, after the third game, I could have gone home a happy man.
Good.
Bud,
I'd love to know who was on that court.
The thing about it for me is if you're having a bad day, I don't want to be shocked by having stretches where I play bad or where my team is not playing well. If that's like going into a battle and saying, all right, guys, we're going to go in today and nobody's going to get hurt, nobody's going to get killed. There's going to be collateral damage. So I think one of the best ways to handle that is to know that is part of what's going to go on. And for me personally, I like the struggle of the game. I like the struggle of trying to get better. It's one of the reasons why we've been out.
Yes, absolutely.
All summer long. I enjoy the grind of trying to get through those tough times. But some people just cannot handle it when they're not playing well, and the game becomes about them instead of about the two players out there trying to get the job done.
Jeff, you made a really, really good point there, because I can get so down on myself on a court. I mean, I will negative self-talk myself to death. I'll like fuss at myself like a mean school teacher. And the thing is that I don't even think about how that affects my partner per se, because I'm more concerned about how I let my partner down and how bad of a shot choice that was, or whatever, or how I sunk it in the net. And the thing is, it never even occurs to me, because I'm so angry at myself for letting my partner down. I don't even think about how my negative self-talk actually affects my partner.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Exactly.
I feel like it's more important to fuss at myself and spank myself with a paddle and say, don't do that again or whatever, than it is to consider, is this affecting, Vicki, for example? I'm bad about that.
Yeah, it can be a mood killer on the court. I was saying this morning, and I don't even know how this saying hit me. I was just thinking about people need to stop asking, what can pickleball do for me? Okay, and ask the question, what can I do for pickleball? And if you put yourself in that position, not only on the court playing, when we're having to stack paddles and there's a bunch of people around, stop sitting there moaning and groaning because there's a bunch of people around. Be excited that there's a bunch of people out there. That's like this morning. I don't know how many paddle stacks we had at Pelican Park this morning, but I promise you there were people on that court playing this morning that because of this sport, they're going to be healthier. Okay? So stop thinking about your own personal, man, this is terrible, all these people out here, and just realize it's great. It's a good thing. Today we got run off by rain, but if we wouldn't have got run off by rain, bide your time, keep hanging around. It's hot. People are going to leave. You're going to be able to play till your legs fall off.
Yeah,
we done slid off into a Burr Under Our Saddle.
For a good part of today, we had 8 courts full, and we had 6 paddle stacks at Pelican Park, which is about the most we've had in a while. So that's great.
Levels. That's the other thing. It was all different levels. I think people managed to get themselves in matches that were really good for them. There were times, though, that the higher players would play with lower rated players and just have a good time. And you saw a lot of little fun matches going on today.
All right, crew, that was a great discussion on court communications with doubles. And now it's time for Jeff's Burr Under My Saddle.
You're burr under my saddle, your thorn sticking in my side.
All right, so this was our second recording. We kind of had some glitches go on the other day, and I had a burr under my saddle that we did, but I'm going to do a different one and maybe come back to that other one later. So we were talking about paddle stacking a while ago, and I haven't actually seen this take place, but I know that it's taken place because people have come up to me or to others. People, stop putting 2 paddles in the paddle stacks. Everybody's there waiting their turn. Wait your turn. Don't put 2 paddles in the paddle stack. That goes back to stop thinking about yourself. There's others there that are waiting their turn. Most everybody else is waiting their turn. So this week's Burr Under My Paddle is just...
Jeff, thanks for that Burr Under My Saddle. And Vicki, you've got a few shout outs for us this week?
I do. My first one is for our local pro, Taylor Garcia. Taylor, she just signed a 3-year contract, which begins in 2024 with Major League Pickleball. So we're all excited for you, Taylor. And as usual, we'd be watching out for you and wishing you the very best. My other shout out is to all of our viewers and subscribers. We really want to make sure that we let you know how much we appreciate you and all the nice messages that you send to us, or anytime we go to tournaments. It's always so much fun talking with people, and they always have such nice and lovely things to say to us and how much they're enjoying it. So we just want to make a point that we appreciate you guys. And if you like what you're watching, make sure to give it the thumbs up, but also subscribe. We know you're watching it. If you hit that thumbs up, we know you're really liking what we're doing. And so we really do appreciate you.
Vicki, thanks for those shout outs. If nobody else has anything, I'm going to thank Andrea for being here with us, being our guest tonight. And
Thanks
to
for
all of our
inviting me.
viewers out there, we'll see you next week. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. I'm sure you all noticed Jeff dropped off of the group a couple of times. Jeff was having some technical difficulties. We apologize, and hopefully we'll have it squared away next week. Well, that's it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave any comments, and please like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks again, and see you next week.